Alrighty, hello everybody, and I almost started the greeting like I did my YouTube channel. But this is Jesse Anderson here, and I work as an assistive technology specialist with SSB. And outside of that, I do also a lot of technology and game accessibility advocacy and consulting work. And today I'm just here to give you a very brief overview of some AI tools that are out there. Some of them that are kind of mainstream that are designed for everybody, and also some that are designed specifically for blind and low vision users. I'm not going to be able to go into a ton of depth because there's so much out there and there's so much, becoming more available every day. And so I just kind of want to give everybody an overview of some of the tools and apps and things that are out there. So I'm sharing my computer screen and I'm going to, as I didn't have it running before, I'm going to start NVDA so that I can actually use some of this stuff, and so that
Screen sharing meeting.
if anyone is a screen reader or audio user, they can hear this as well. So there's a lot of different AI tools out there. There's generative AI, as they're calling it, and there are specifically uses for blind and low vision users, like identifying objects, describing a scene, and all kinds of other things. And then there's more your general generative AI tools, like everyone's probably heard of ChatGPT by this point. Maybe they've heard of Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, and there's several more, but I think those are the main three that we're going to take a little bit of a look at today, as well as a few other blind and low vision related ones. Before I go any further, I will say again, especially as we're going to be looking at some text here in the beginning, if you're using AI to help you generate text, be it, like helping to come up with a draft for an email, a letter, a resume, whatever it happens to be, these are meant as assistive tools for everybody. You don't just want to give it a prompt and have it generate the text and then just, copy and paste it and it is what it is. Just send it out there or use it. It's really meant to be a tool, so that you can contribute, you can use that as a starting point and, add your own twist or add your own unique wording to whatever it is you're generating, especially if you're using it to help you generate ideas like letters and stuff. So I have.
Screen sharing meeting controls.
Oh, okay. You're not focused on that. So,
Google Chrome.
I'm in ChatGPT, and it's way too much to go into today. But there's a whole art in when you're looking at these generative tools. There's a whole art to making the prompt, like telling it how you want it to do something. You can be as vague as you want it, but it almost really helps if you're more specific. And so there are whole webinars, there are whole video series on, making AI prompts. I actually attended a virtual webinar a few weeks ago. I think it was through the NFB, their webinar series. They had a whole one on engineering prompts for AI, things like this. So,
Clickable skip to
but
content
what's
link.
cool about this is
What
I
can I
can
help with?
literally just go
Main
into this
landmark.
edit box and, I can ask it a question. I can tell it to generate me some text. I can do any number of things. So let's start out with, I have a notepad file with some text here that I'm going to paste.
Please explain the steps for solving a quadratic equation, and make it understandable for blind and low vision students.
So that is my prompt. I want it to,
Blank.
this is something maybe that a vision teacher might do, or that a teacher or somebody might work with a student. So it's a practical example, and you're trying to help them. Let's say,
Blank.
we're going to help them in algebra do a quadratic equation. I probably don't even remember how to do it at this point because it's been so long.
ChatGPT
So
is
we're going to
generating a
hit
response.
enter, and it comes up
ChatGPT is
almost
still generating a
instantly.
response.
They're still generating. NVDA will keep telling us here.
ChatGPT is still generating a response. ChatGPT says, absolutely. Here's an accessible and clear explanation of how to solve a quadratic equation, designed especially for blind and low vision students. I'll break it down into step-by-step instructions using descriptions rather than visuals. Dash bullseye. What is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation looks like this: x b x c 0, where a, b, and c are numbers, called coefficients. X is the unknown variable, the highest power of x is 2, that's what makes it quadratic. Dash hammer and wrench. Goal: find the value, s, of x that make the equation true. Dash check mark button. Steps to solve a quadratic equation. There are several methods, but let's focus on the quadratic formula, which works for every quadratic equation. Abacus. Step 1, identify a, b, and c from the equation x b x c 0, write down the values.
So I'm going to stop it here. Now, you notice that it did still word a few things a little bit weirdly, and that's partly because of the way I have NVDA set up. I don't have it speaking a lot of punctuation, so it's missing a lot of the math signs when I just do a read all. But if I were reading this line by line, letter by letter, word by word, or if I changed the overall punctuation settings, I could, have it read it and it would make a little bit more sense. So when it was rattling off the different equations and things, and I love how even I have never done this prompt before. This is a prompt that we just decided on right before this presentation. And what I like is, it summarized, okay, I'm going to tell you what this is. And then, instead of using graphics, because I mentioned blind and low vision specifically, I'll describe it in words versus pictures.
And next
if I take the mouse, I can literally scroll down and look at how much detail there is. Like I said, I wouldn't have it read the whole thing. But what's cool is you still have that info edit box on the bottom. And so let's say that I worked through this, or let's say that I worked through part of this and I didn't quite understand something, and I could say, well, in step 2 you say to do this.
Emily Monahan
I'm not quite sure what you are referring to. So it remembers, your conversation, and so you can ask follow-up questions or clarification for different things. So I could ask specifically about a step, or I could, let's say if I had an example problem from a textbook, I could, type that in, and then it would use the steps that it gave me along with this equation that I pulled from a book or a worksheet that it could help me through. And so we're going to do this same question. We're going to see how other AIs behave as well and see what they do. Before I do that, I'm going to do one more quick thing. I'm going to reload the page.
Section multi-line editable.
And we're going to do an all new question.
Clickable section multi-line
and
editable.
I'm going
Screen
to go
controls,
to
reflector. Please explain the steps for solve. Please
my other document. I'm going to select all of this. Now this is, let's say that I wanted to have it help me generate some text, because I've never written a cover letter before, and I want maybe some tips on doing that, maybe get a template that I can modify, or I just don't know how to word something. So this time I've copied a bunch of text, and I'm going to say something like, I'm applying for a job at SSB as an assistive technology specialist. Please. I'm trying to do all this fast, and then I screw up my typing. Please generate a cover letter based on the info below. And then I'll hit paste, and I'll hit enter.
ChatGPT is generating a response.
Let's see what it does.
ChatGPT is still generating a response.
And I should have.
Here's a polished and professional cover letter tailored for the assistive technology specialist position at SSB. With your impressive experience and credentials, dash your name, your address, city, state, Zip email address phone number date hiring committee state services for the blind SSB address city, state, zip dear hiring committee, I am writing to express my interest in the assistive technology specialist position at state services for the blind. With over a decade of experience in assistive technology training and advocacy, coupled with a strong academic background in technology and instructional design, I bring both deep technical knowledge and...
So I'll pause it there, and you're not seeing it visually, so I'm going to scroll it down.
I am writing to express...
But basically, I think it actually pulled from the information that I pasted. When I asked the question, I literally just said SSB. But I think somewhere in there, in my other text that I pasted in there, I said state services for the blind. And so it literally said, it didn't say SSB. It said, I'm applying for a position at SSB. And it pulled all this information from like my education, my experience, and I could reword any of this. I mean, look at this. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. Just got the addresses and the sincerely, whatever, all that stuff. And again, this is something you'd want to edit, but this is a really good starting point. There are definitely things that I left out of that initial description that I would want to either add in there or supplement what it already wrote, but this is a really good start. So those are a couple, like I showed you an example of how it can answer a question, like walking us through solving an equation. And then I showed you how to generate like a sample cover letter. So let's move on to the next one. And now we're on Gemini. Again, this is Google's version. We looked at ChatGPT. Very similar type of thing. And what I should also mention is, that depending on the service, the AI engine, and depending on like what features you want it to do, there are often different tiers, or levels. So like you have a free tier, you have a paid tier. Some of them even have multiple paid tiers. You may have a personal versus a professional or business subscription. But there's a lot you can do even with free. So like right now I'm also just using some text input, but you can also in a lot of these do some voice chatting, and I'm not going to do as much of that on the computer stuff here, but when I get to a couple of mobile apps, I'll show you a couple of really cool things there. So I'm going to switch back to my notepad. I'm going to switch back here. I'm going to copy this prompt about our equation, and I'm going to paste it.
Ask Gemini.
Let's see what Gemini tells us.
Gemini replied.
And look at how fast this is. It's just... So let's see if NVDA just starts reading it automatically, or if I have to shift tab to it or something here.
Ask Gemini. Blank.
Okay, so...
Clickable open upload file menu button. Enter a prompt here. Edit button unavailable. Edit.
It's supposed...
Navigation landmark. Clickable settings button. Clickable Gemini apps activity button. Click edit button. Edit tab.
Okay,
listen button. Clickable good. Clickable bad.
Oops.
Clickable good response toggle button not pressed. Clickable bad response. Redo button.
Okay, so I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it, so I'm going to cheat a little bit here.
Solve for the two possible values of x.
Oh, wow, yeah, it's giving me a whole bunch of information.
Where b and c are numbers, and it cannot be 0. Here are the common methods for solving quadratic equations, explained step by step.
So it says step by step.
Method 1. This method works when Laura Arolono has joined the meeting alert. This method works when the quadratic expression can be broken down into the product of two linear expressions.
So this one didn't seem like it mentioned anything right off the bat about, I'm explaining this to a blind or low vision user. It's just giving us the steps, but it is still giving us the steps in text form. So I would have to go back and look at, each one of these to see which one I preferred or which one is easier to understand. But again, you create the exact same prompt or the exact same question, maybe put it in a Word document or a Notepad file, and then just paste it into different ones of these AI tools and see which one is the most helpful for you. Again, I can refresh it.
Prompt here, edit multi-line, ask Gemini.
Let's see.
Clickable main landmark. Open upload file menu button at canvas button.
You
Create
can
docs
also
and
upload files, like if you have a document that you want it to reference, you can do that, but we're not going to go through that here today.
clickable microphone button. Use microphone.
Admittedly, I've done a lot of this on mobile. I haven't done as much of this on
Toolbar.
the
View site
PC.
information menu button. Address and search
I
bar.
wonder
Edit
if I
has
can,
autocomplete. Canvas. Enter a prompt. It's great. Gemini document blank.
okay,
Chrome legacy window.
I don't even have to necessarily
Main landmark.
refresh, but let's say that I
Please
want to
explain
do
the
the
steps.
same
Please
thing
graduated
with
in 800.
this, and I
Graduated.
should have actually put the prompt
Gemini.
in the other one too. Please generate a cover letter for an assistive technology specialist
Specialist
position with SSB based on the info below.
Enter a prompt.
Paste.
Ask Gemini. Gemini is typing.
Whoa, howdy.
Gemini replied. Gemini can make mistakes. Here are some resources that might be helpful.
Well, I told it to generate a cover
mention
letter.
Your presentations at conferences and events like ID24 and the Game Accessibility Conference.
It didn't really seem, this was interesting. It didn't actually seem.
Okay, I can help you with that. Based on the information you provided, here's some guidance and resources to help you create a cover letter for the express your interest in.
So those are some guidance. Can you write a sample cover letter with this information?
I-T-A-M-T-R-O-F-N-I. Information. Ask Gemini. Gemini is typing. Gemini replied.
There we go. So I had to coax it a little bit more this time. And again, due to the time, I'm not going to have it read everything audibly.
Next page.
But, it does generate everything. And I should mention, you can copy and paste these. So like once you have the text that it generates, you can copy and paste it, let's say into a Word document or Google Doc or something, and then play with it, organize it, rewrite it the way you want it to. So this one, it gave me tips right away, but then after I coaxed it a little bit, it gave me the info. It generated another letter, and
I am writing with enthusiastic interest in the assistive technology specialist position at SSB, as advertised. Mention where you saw the advertisement, if applicable. With my extensive experience
so
in
this
the
one, it literally said mention where. So it's putting in a lot more placeholder text. So it looks like this one is going to be it's going to need a bit more fine tuning and editing, whereas ChatGPT, I think, did a little bit better job of just like, hey, let's use the information, put it in there, and then aside from the business name, it's up to you to kind of decide. So
Microsoft
again, I because of time, maybe I'll come back to this one, but I want to get to some of the mobile apps and stuff too. But you see kind of how ChatGPT and Gemini did it. Microsoft Copilot can also do these similar types of tasks, and you can access Copilot on the web. You can access it on a lot of these. You can access via the web, or you can download mobile apps for iOS or Android that can do all of these things as well. So whether you're on mobile or computer, you can do all of these. So to save time, I'm not necessarily going to do the Copilot one here. But those are a couple of, general chatbot type of things, AI chatbots that you can use. There's another unique one that I want to bring to your attention. It's called FS Companion, and this can be really helpful, especially for vision teachers or students or assistive technology users. This is a tool that Freedom Scientific or Vispero came out with not long ago, where you can go to their website. It's in the document that hopefully they'll send out to you later today, if with these resources listed in there. But basically, what this does is it's designed for, like, you can ask it information about all of Freedom Scientific's products: JAWS, Zoom Text, Fusion. But you can also ask it about Microsoft products like Windows or Office, that kind of a thing. And who knows if they'll add maybe they'll add Google Docs or, the Google Suite to things later. I don't know. I haven't really explored that. But what I like about this is how many times has somebody gone out to the web to look for instructions on how to do a task, and you get the answer, but it's always describing it in a visual way. Click the button here, click the third button, and click the little key icon, or whatever it is. Whereas this, if I
Dictate. Alt. Type your question
so
here.
I'm going to
Edit.
type
Type
in
your
a
question here.
question.
Blank.
Let's see. How
How
do
I
I set up
set up
automatic
O U A D automatic
replies
reply
in Outlook
Outlook
using JAWS?
JAWS. Alert. How do I set up automatic replies in Outlook using JAWS? How do I set up automatic replies in Outlook using JAWS?
So I go on vacation or something.
Alert. To set up automatic replies in Outlook using JAWS, follow these steps. Your automatic replies are now set up in Outlook. If you need further assistance, feel free to ask. To set up automatic replies in Outlook using JAWS, follow these steps. 1. Open Outlook. Launch Microsoft Outlook. 2. Access the file menu. Press Alt F to open the file menu. 3. Open automatic replies. Use the down arrow key to navigate to automatic replies and press Enter. 4. Enable automatic replies. In the automatic replies dialog, press Alt A to select Send automatic replies. 5. Set reply time frame. Optional. If you want to specify a time frame, press Alt O to check only sent during this time range.
So you see, it's giving us literally the sequence of instructions that I need to do, and it's also giving. It doesn't say click on this button here, click on the ribbon, do this. It says go to this menu with Alt F, press this, press down arrow, or press Alt O, or press, whatever it is. It's literally giving you the keyboard commands. And so, I could also ask it things like,
type your question here. Edit. Type your question here. Blank.
how do I use JAWS Convenient OCR?
Alert. How do I use JAWS Convenient OCR?
So if I
How
want
do
to
I use
dive
JAWS
in more
Convenient
detail
OCR?
about a specific Zoom text or JAWS feature or Fusion, you can
Alert to
access
use JAWS
this on the
Convenient
web.
OCR, optical character recognition. Follow these steps. Once the text is recognized, it will be displayed in the results viewer, where you can read or copy it to other applications. If you have Microsoft Office installed, you can also open the recognized text in a Word document by selecting the Open in Word link in the results viewer.
Okay, I think I either misremembered the command that I was asking about. So I could say something like, how do I OCR the screen in JAWS?
JAWS. Alert. How do I see OCR the screen in JAWS?
So I made a typo there, but hopefully it'll figure it out.
Alert to perform convenient OCR, see OCR, on the screen using JAWS.
Yeah, so again, I'm typing quickly and making a couple mistakes, but this is super helpful because you're actually given, keyboard instructions on how to do it. And you can access this on the web like we are now, but you can also access it right within JAWS itself. There's a keyboard command for it. And it's also, I can't remember if it's in Fusion and Zoom Text at the moment or if it's coming. I know at one time it was only in JAWS and it was coming to the other two, but they might be there already with one of the recent updates. So that's FS Companion, super handy. I actually use it myself from time to time. The final PC one I want to just briefly talk about, I'm not really going to do much with this, but this is InnoSearch.ai, and they're using AI to help people have sort of a more universal shopping experience. There's a shopping tab and there's a flights tab. And so the shopping tab, you can look up a product and it will search like Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, like hundreds of retailers. But it puts everything in this sort of clean layout. You don't have all the crap across the top of the page or down the sides of the page. Everything is put in like a consistent format. So you got your title, you got your price, you got your short description, add to cart, and it'll play. Basically, you sign up for a free InnoSearch account, and then it will, basically make the orders through those other third-party websites and then, get the product to you. And then there's also for flights, it'll give you information and you can try to book flights just using this website, which is definitely a bit cleaner than some of your typical travel booking websites. So again, I'm not going to spend much time on here. I'm going to minimize everything and I want to touch on a few phone apps. So let me bring up my phone here. So I'm going to kill NVDA real quick because we don't need that anymore. And so I'm running iOS. A lot of these apps are on both iPhone or Android. And before I go into apps specifically, let me turn VoiceOver on real quick.
VoiceOver on. Blindness folder.
And I'm going to
apps, CapX, Act Cap messages, CapX messages, Safari notes, Overcast notes,
Notes. Let's go into Notes.
Active. Notes.
And
previous 30 days. Graduated in May 2003 with
here
April
is
16th, 2000.
I opened the Notes app, and this is just a quick example, very similar to what we did on the computer with all those other AI tools. I just wrote a whole bunch of blurbs, some of them sentences, some of them phrases about some of my past experience. And if I bring up on the bottom,
toolbar, checklist, attachments, handwriting, writing tools, button,
writing tools,
note, sheet grabber, button, describe your change.
Okay, let me try this. So let's go.
Describe your change.
I'm hoping it'll let me dictate this to make it faster while I'm on the Zoom call. Dictate. So let's see if it will.
Double tap to.
I am applying for a assistive technology specialist job with SSB. Period. Please generate a cover.
Inserted. I am applying for R-E-V-O-C R-E-T-T-E-L space R-E-V-O-C. Dictate.
Cover letter based on this information. Period.
Submit button. Rewriting.
And just like our other stuff.
Finish rewriting.
There you go. It already did a draft of a cover letter based on what I told it. I can touch the different areas of the screen with VoiceOver.
Accessible technology salute page 3 of page 105. Note, I am April 20. Note, text field is editing. Your name, your address, city, state, zip code, your email address, your phone number.
Well, it's going to read all of it here. But again, you see visually the idea. And it does generate a pretty good job. I've tried this a variation a few times. But you can have it generate this text for you. And again, you can edit it on your own. So there's a few apps I want to really touch on that really make use of AI. One of them has been out for many years on iOS, but recently came to Android within, I don't know, the last year or so. And that is Microsoft's Seeing AI. They recently redesigned it. You used to have a whole bunch of different little channels where you could say, I want to recognize short text like a business card or a label or something like that. I could do a document, or I could do handwriting. I could do like recognizing a barcode or paper money. But then it had the ability to describe a scene to you. But for the longest time, it was kind of laughably bad. And so like it would just give you nonsense replies. But all of that has gotten better, and they've streamlined the design of the app a little bit. I'll just briefly go into it here for you.
Open Seeing AI.
And I'll just take a picture of my text setup here. So let's go to there's some tabs.
Describe. Tab.
I'm going to go to
Selected.
describe.
Describe. Tab. Take picture.
And I'm going to take a picture.
Take pic processing. Cancel button. The image depicts a room with several electronic devices and accessories arranged on wooden desks. On the right side, there is a computer monitor displaying a desktop with various icons. In front of the monitor, a keyboard is visible, along with a mouse and a small round object, possibly a speaker or a coaster. Adjacent to the monitor is a computer tower with a front panel featuring 3 illuminated fans. On top of the tower, there are several items, including a plush toy with orange limbs and a white body, and a few small objects that appear to be electronic. To the left of the computer tower, there is a larger television screen positioned on a separate...
So there's a ton of... that gives you a really detailed information about that simple picture that I took. A similar app that
Seeing
uses
AI.
AI this was one of the first ones that blew me away. Came out, I think it was like late 2023.
Be My Eyes.
Be My
Double tap to
Eyes.
open.
This app is amazing. So it's been around for a long time too, and in its original form, and it still does this. You can connect to a free sighted volunteer. So if I'm, let's say, traveling for work and I'm in a hotel and I need to figure out, like, oh, I can't see the thermostat to adjust it properly, I could connect to a sighted volunteer, point my camera at it, just like I was doing like a FaceTime call, and be able to get some sighted assistance with that. But seeing a or Be My Eyes also has a Be My
Be
AI
My Eyes.
feature
Double.
that'll do a very
Be
similar
with starting
thing
camera.
to what I just did with
Take picture.
Seeing AI.
Button.
So let's just
Take
take another
picture.
picture here.
Analyzing picture. Please wait.
In this one, you can ask follow-up questions, just like a lot of the other AI applications.
A computer setup on a wooden desk. The computer tower has a glass side panel and is illuminated with blue LED lights, visible through 3 circular fans on the front. On top of the tower, there is a plush toy with orange legs and a white body. To the right, a monitor displays a desktop with various icons and a dark, textured background. In front of the monitor, a black keyboard with illuminated keys is visible. On the left side of the desk,
So it's giving me a really detailed description, and
ask more
I
button.
could hit ask more, and it'll bring up literally a
Message,
little
text
chat
field, your
history
message,
thing,
image.
and I can ask
Act,
a follow-up question. Maybe I wanted to know about something specific that I saw on the desk, or maybe I wanted it to describe more of that plush toy on top of the computer tower. I could ask it more information about that. But what I like about this too is um, I can go to my photo library of existing photos, or I could be on a website, I could be on a social media post. And a lot of people post visual information, like memes or announcements or things, and they just slap a picture of text. And there's no alt text, there's no alt tags for these images. With VoiceOver on, I can literally touch that image, double tap and hold it, and bring up bring up your share option, and I hit share, and in that list of my, the share sheet, I can share that with, I can say recognize with Be My Eyes, and it will recognize any of those images just like it did for my camera. So that's come in extremely handy. I've used that a lot. And I should also mention that Be My Eyes is also available through the through Windows, and you have to get it through the Windows Store, which is sort of unfortunate because some schools and things have your computers locked down. But I have a picture up here, and I'm going to maximize this. And I'm going to hit a keyboard shortcut because I have Be My Eyes running in the background on my computer. Alt Control H. It brings up just like it would on the phone. And I want to show you something specific here, if it does what I think it's going to. Yes, so I could use NVDA if I had it on, or I could turn magnifier on, and I could use it to read it.
Diagram of the human body labeled with various organs. The organs labeled include brain.
So that's not really helpful as far as understanding the layout of this diagram. Yeah, it gives me the whole list of them, but like I said, I can ask a follow-up question, so I can say, describe the diagram from top to bottom in a more narrative style. I was using this to read digital comic books a while back. It works really well, actually. And I should also mention I've done, I can put a cheap plug at the end, but I have, like I said, I mentioned I have a YouTube channel where I cover tech and games, and I've covered a lot of these apps and tools in more detail on that channel as well. So now if I read.
At the top of the diagram, the brain is depicted within the head, labeled as one of the vital organs. Moving down to the chest area, the lungs are shown on either side of the heart, both of which are also highlighted as vital organs. Below the heart, the liver is positioned on the right side of the
And
body.
so I can continue asking it specific details about like how things are arranged or more information as I better understand the diagram. So think about a student, maybe they didn't get a chance to have something made accessible right off the bat, and so they need to look at a chart, a graph, a diagram, other type of graphical information to be able to pop that up on your phone, or if you have access to, again, to the Windows Store to download the free Be My Eyes Windows app. This works really well. It's really, and it works for school, work, entertainment, all kinds of different things. The final app that I want to show you before we do a little Q&A is probably one of the coolest. Let me bring my phone back up here. And this one is called Ally. It's from Envision. You may have heard of the
Be My
Envision
Eyes.
Assistant before, but this is a new app from
Voiceover
Envision,
off.
and it just came out for the public a few weeks ago. I've been beta testing it for a few months, and it's really cool. What sets this apart is that it's actually like a live conversational AI on your phone. In addition to that, it's called Ally because it has a couple sample allies that it creates for you to get you started, but you can create your own allies and give them different personalities. If you want something more like really descriptive for images, maybe I make like for me, maybe I would make a drum tutor ally because I want to feed it some information about, my skill level, what type of music I like, what songs I've learned, and it can offer me some more suggestions or tips on, improving my drum playing. If a student maybe, you can have it like, again, ask questions just like we did with ChatGPT or Gemini, but you can also say like, hey, I want to study for, well, I'll show you an example. So rather than explain it more, let me just go ahead and demo it to you real quick. I know I've got about 5 minutes before we take Q&A, 5, 6 minutes. So I'm going to go into Ally. Here we go. Hopefully this is good.
Hello. How can I assist you today?
Well, hello. I'm actually doing a technology demonstration for work, and I'm showing off a bunch of technology and AI tools.
That's awesome. What's on your demo agenda today? Anything specific that you need help with, or just want to chat about the cool tech you're showcasing?
Well, I'm showing the Ally app right now, and can you tell me what I'm holding in my hand at the moment?
Let me take a look. You're holding an Xbox controller. Looks like you're ready for some serious gaming action. Are you planning to demonstrate any gaming features?
No, not today. We did that a while ago, but can you tell if the controller is actually on?
Let's check it out. Let me take a look. Yes, the Xbox controller is on. You can tell because the Xbox button in the center is lit up. Anything else you want to show off in your demo?
So, what can you tell me about Minnesota State Services for the Blind, and maybe specifically their technology services?
Minnesota State Services for the Blind (SSB) offers a variety of technology services to help individuals with vision loss live independently. Here are some key services they provide. 1. Accessible reading services. SSB offers 24/7 reading services through audio, braille, and e-text transcription, making print materials accessible to those with print disabilities. 1. 2. Employment assistance. They
Okay, can
assist
you tell
job
me a
seekers.
little bit more about their technology services specifically?
Minnesota State Services for the Blind (SSB) offers a variety of technology services to help individuals with vision loss live independently. Here are some key services they provide. 1. Assistive technology. SSB offers tools and training for employment. including assistive technology that can help individuals with vision loss perform daily tasks and maintain their independence. 1. 5. 2. Accessible reading source. As Minnesota's accessible reading source, SSB provides access to print through audio, braille, and
Okay,
e-text.
thanks for the help on that. Really quickly, one last thing I want to show before we wrap up is I'm actually going to be studying for a technology help desk exam in a couple of weeks, and I would like to study for it a little bit. Would you be able to ask me some multiple choice questions, one at a time, about just for a technology help desk position?
Sure thing. Let's get you prepped with some questions. Here's the first one. Question 1 asterisk. You have a computer that won't start. The monitor is on, but there's nothing on the screen. What's the first thing you should check? A. Replace the monitor. B. Check if the computer is plugged in. C. Restart the monitor. D. Check the internet connection. What do you think is the right answer?
We'll say A.
Sweet. Next one. Question 2 asterisk. An employee reports that their computer is running very slowly. What is one of the first steps you should take to troubleshoot the issue? A. Buy a new computer. B. Check for and close unnecessary programs running in the background. C. Delete everything on their desktop. D. Call the internet provider. What's your choice?
B.
That's correct. Closing unnecessary programs is usually a great first step in troubleshooting slow computer issues. Ready for another one?
No, I think we're good. I think that'll do it for this demonstration, but thanks for the help.
Anytime. Glad I could assist in your demo. If you need more tech questions or anything else later on, you know where to find me. Good luck.
So we cut it off there, but I'm not actually taking a help desk thing, but it was just a common example that I gave. And so, like I said, if somebody is, let's say that somebody's taken a history class and they are, for this particular unit, they're studying the Civil War. So they could say, hey, I'm a 10th grader and I am studying the Civil War. And you can give it as much information, even after it asks you some questions. Say, oh, well, I need to know specifically more about the Battle of whatever. And so you can, it can ask you questions and you can give it, you can hone in on whatever it is you want. And it can kind of be a cool study aid. I know I've heard of somebody that I was on a conference call with them about a month ago, and somebody was using it for, I don't remember if it was like an A plus certification or some other type of tech certification. So yeah, it was helping them study. Again, being able to ask, just fire it up and say, like, tell me more about all this tariff nonsense that's going on. I want to understand more about, the whole shenanigans going on in the U.S. right now. And so it could tell me about, like how tariffs work, or I need to, like yesterday I was using it. I had some little hash brown patties, and it gave cooking instructions for the oven or a fryer. But I said, hey, could I make these on a countertop grill? And it gave me instructions on how to try to do it, and it turned out great. So it's really what's cool about this is that there's not any specific modes, like a graphic mode or a text mode or anything like that. You can just talk to it, and you notice how I wasn't saying everything perfectly. It's not like Siri or your smart speakers where you have to talk like a robot and say things an exact perfect way. You just talk to it, and even if you babble a little bit, it just sort of figures it out. So those are just some of the AI tools. I went a couple minutes over, but we still have about 12, 13 minutes for questions. Those are some mainstream and assistive technology or accessible tools out there. There's even more than what I was able to demo for you guys today. And we'll wrap it up and open it up for questions.
Jesse, this is Kirsten, and I want other people to be able to ask questions, but I know that you and I have talked about Ally and the different personas. Can you just go into that a little bit so that people can also see how you can write something or have it give you information in a more formal way or in a less formal way? Uh, It doesn't have to include the persona that we talked about last
Right,
week,
right,
but
right. No, 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 no. I mean, I can explain. So yeah, like I said, what's cool is when you get the app and you do the onboarding initially, what happens is it'll ask you a little bit, it'll ask you a few questions about yourself, so you can kind of tell it, whatever you want to give it information about, like your background or your likes, your dislikes, or things that might, if you're going to use Ally in a specific way, you can kind of tell it like, oh, this is how this is information that you should know about me. Maybe if you're going to use it for like cooking a lot, maybe you give it certain things that you like or don't like, or maybe you have allergies or something. If you're using it for studying, you use it a different way. But if I go into Ally again, and I'm not going to launch an Ally, but if I go into settings here, and let me turn voiceover back on.
Voice ally button. About your ally. Customize
So
your
about
ally.
my
Customize
ally,
your ally for a
so you can give them names, you can set what their voice is, and you can set their personality. So if I go
selected.
into
Edit our original ally.
edit,
But customize your ally's language style.
you see that you can do language style, which your primary language is. You can speak to them in multiple languages, and then you give it
Ally
like
personality is
allied
heading.
personality, and you
Enthusiastic.
can just put like different sentences like, oh, do you want this to be a more formal and fact-based? Do you want them to be snarky? Like I made one the other day. I forgot that I had it on, and we were doing our test run. And you see on my desktop, my computer desktop, there I have a Cobra Kai wallpaper, and I love that show. And so I thought, let's see if we can make an ally that kind of acts and behaves and talks like Johnny Lawrence, which is pretty funny. And so he was, yeah, I made an ally that just behaves and talks more like him. Lets a few other words fly every once in a while, but, you can do that. But then, like I said, this one that I have now
Language.
is more
English. Page 2 of 2.
formal. It's more, um, I can specifically say, don't swear, or I can say, I want you to be very descriptive. I want you to be, you know, no frills, or I want you to be friendly, sarcastic, however you want each of their allies to be.
Back.
If I
Button.
go back,
Back. Tongue. Professional.
all of these other ones is one that's
Zooey. Quirky and
professional,
deadpan.
quirky and
Button.
deadpan,
Lee. Cheerful and playful.
cheerful
Button.
and playful,
Page
and
2
then
of
down
2.
here
Add new ally.
I can
Button.
add another one. So if I wanted to make that drum coach, which I haven't done yet, which I probably will, I can just go add a new ally and fill out the form. So in addition to being conversational, that's how much customization this gives you. I was
AI.
even using
Heading.
it to do like a dungeon master type thing. Like I just wanted to talk through almost like I had it set up like a D&D campaign I could
Voiceover
just
off.
play through for a little while. Unfortunately, right now, Ally only remembers things for your current conversation. So every time you start the app again, you have to start from scratch. They're working on giving it some history or some memory. But like if I wanted to start like a training on something and come back tomorrow where I left off, I couldn't do that as easily unless I gave it sort of a summary of what I knew again. But once they add more of a history and like a memory, eventually you will be able to, again, pick up a D&D campaign or like a style campaign, or pick up on lessons or whatever it is you're using it for. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, Jesse. Again, I want to open the floor up if people would like to unmute and ask questions. I know that Jesse's eager to answer your questions and maybe demo something if you have a question about a particular thing that he's shown already, but you have a question that you'd like him to pose to any one of the resources he's provided or shown here. That would be awesome.
And I can, it depends on you guys too, but I'm available. I can stay a couple minutes. So if we run over a few minutes, that's fine.
This is Kirsten. Thank you, Jesse.
it's really cool. Like I said, there's this is just scratching the surface. I don't even pretend to know all of it. These are just some of the tools that I'm sort of familiar with. There's new ones every day. Another thing that you kind of have to be careful about with AI, especially the generative one, well, but all of these things I should have mentioned right away is, especially if you're looking at something that really has to be accurate, really has to be factual, don't just take their word for it, even though they may say it or they may present it in a very convincing way. If you need that information to be really accurate, you want to go double check it, whether it's checking with somebody else or going on the web to search, or you can ask some of the AI services let you kind of ask it what its sources were, or they will provide the sources. Because AI can have what they call hallucinations, where it's convinced of something and like it tells you either information it made up or information that who knows where it got it and it got it wrong. Even when I'm identifying things, like I have a box on my desk here, and every time, a lot of times, the first time I try to recognize it, it thinks it's like a hard drive, or it thinks it's something else, and it said, "Hey, you want to look at that again?" And then this is an optical drive, this is a Blu-ray drive, or whatever it is. So it's not perfect. I didn't even go into things like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses and all the wearables that are coming around the corner. There's some pretty interesting products for, like the WeWalk 2 cane is kind of interesting. I haven't gotten to see it yet, but there's things like that. There's things like again, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. It has its limitations, but they can also be helpful. There are other wearables coming. There's the Glidance, which is a really cool mobility tool that I'm really interested to see when it comes out, hopefully later this year or next year. So there's all kinds of stuff and all kinds of different uses for AI.
Say, Jesse, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So what of the things you've shown or things you know of would be the appropriate AI for, say, if I wanted my students to have an opportunity to do some flashcards on a topic, let's just say the War of 1812 for a 12th grader, is
hmm
there a place where I can upload like the notes and or something like that, and then it can ask the questions like it does in Ally, but from a specific set of information that I, as the
Yeah.
teacher, provide?
A lot of your, I believe, a lot of your like web tools like Gemini, I can't remember if ChatGPT can, I think it can. Microsoft Copilot. You remember when I was on one of those, there was an option to upload a file. So if you had those sort of notes, you could feed it that, and then you could ask it follow-up questions, or you could say, okay, hey, I've given you this document of the note of some with some notes on the War of 1812. Um, Please ask ask some study questions to a senior in high school. And if you're giving it that sort of description, that way you know, like, hey, I'm a student that wants to study this subject matter, and based off of these specific facts that I want you to know. So some of them, yes, can do that. I think some of the apps might be able to. Again, that's not something I've played with specifically myself. Um, I haven't actually tried that in the apps, but like, Gemini and ChatGPT, they all have mobile apps as well.
So again, this is Kristen, and a follow-up to that. So if I've uploaded that information and it creates the questions, are they asked auditorily or are they written in, here's the question, here's your.
They, yeah, they would be written they would be written, and that's why I was using NVDA for all of these different things, because um, that way, if I was blind or low vision, I would still be able to read the responses. Um, Whether, like I said, I have, again, they keep changing these things almost on a daily basis. So there's always adding new functionality. And like I said, you can talk to these back and forth too, a lot of them. So like I believe even GPT, like if I zoom in here, is there, let's see, yeah, there's an attach, that's where you would attach your file. Search, I'm trying to see if there's a microphone, there's a view, or oh, voice, yeah. So I don't know if like if I fed it a file and then it had that up as part of our conversation, I think you could then switch to voice, and then if you had a microphone, or if most laptops have a built-in mic or whatever, if you have a headset like I'm using here, um, you feed it the file, and then you could either talk back and forth to it, go into voice mode, or you could converse back and forth with it either via text or via voice.
This is Kirsten. That sounds great. Does anyone else have a question for Jesse?
Again, I'm kind of just learning as along with everybody else. Like I said, there's so many things changing constantly that by the time I learn how something works, it'll be a week later and go, oh, it can do this now, or oh, it doesn't work that way anymore. So it's a very rapidly changing landscape, so to speak.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone unmuting to ask a question, but so I want to thank you, Jesse, for the information, and we will be sending out the list of resources that Jesse provided to us. We'll be sending those out to everyone who registered, so you should be getting that soon. Jesse did mention the Meta glasses, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. If you will be at Charting the Seas, you can have an opportunity to try those out. I do have a pair of those that I will be bringing for
Would
people to try out.
would you like me to give a quick spiel about those real quick or not?
This is Kirsten. For those of you who have to leave, we understand. Thank you for coming today. And Jesse, yes, please share.
Sure. So yeah, I do have a pair of Meta Ray-Ban glasses. I got them, I would say, I think late May last year, and they're continually doing upgrades and stuff. And again, these are glasses that are not specifically designed for blind low vision. They're primarily designed for like your social media, your Instagram people, that kind of a thing. But they have their AI built into the glasses. Facebook's is called Llama, if I remember correctly, and they do have their uses for blind and low vision users. But what you have to kind of remember, because this is a mainstream product, your responses are not going to be geared toward maybe specifically providing the information as you would maybe want it from a blindness related app like Be My Eyes or Seeing AI. So if I ask, hey, what am I looking at? It may give me just a very basic general description of something. But again, you can ask follow-up questions and be like, hey, tell me more about whatever it is, whatever object that you saw. Um, it There are some, like, the glasses I think would be more capable technically, but due to privacy and security reasons, Meta and other mainstream AI applications have kind of put some restrictions purposefully on AI, like maybe being able to recognize people, like, oh, this is Obama, or this is whoever it is, like for famous people, like, or even giving a description like, oh, there's a middle-aged person wearing a red shirt and looking happy or whatever. Some of the AI may or may not be able to do that, and they're currently, over time, they improving things. If you go into wearing something like the Meta glasses, knowing that there will be some limitations and, not having sky high expectations, they can still be really useful. And I think like for low vision specifically, I think they can be especially useful because for me, like I can see that there's something maybe over there on that wall, or oh, I can see that there's a flyer or a poster. One of the examples that I gave early on was when I got them, I was walking back home from the front office in my apartment complex, and I was carrying a box from big box from the mailroom, and I saw in our one of our lobbies by our mailboxes they had a giant TV and there was this wall of text. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's anything important. Rather than having to whip out my phone and um, use another app to figure out what that was, I just looked at the TV and said, hey, what does that screen say? And when it comes to recognizing text currently, it mostly tries to summarize things rather than read them word for word. And in some cases, that's what people want, is reading it top to bottom, word for word. But in some cases, you don't want that. Let's say you're in a restaurant and you want to go through a menu. If you're using an app typically that does just regular OCR, you are reading it from top to bottom, but that takes a lot of time. You want to figure out what you want and tell the waiter, waitress what you want, quickly. But with some of these AI apps or even the Meta glasses, you could, you look at it and say, oh, this is an Italian menu, and it's got the headings for salads and soups and appetizers, entrees, and just like talking to a sighted friend, you could just be like, oh, what appetizers do they have, or what types of how much is the lasagna? Now that I know it's an Italian. So it actually kind of helps speed things along in some cases that way, and they have really good use cases for the summary. Now, Meta is starting to, I haven't found it to be really consistent as of yet, but it is starting to, like, if you specifically tell it, read this document or read from top to bottom, it's supposed to start doing that a little bit better, but I've had mixed results where it still sometimes wants to summarize, or it'll start reading the document from the top, but then it kind of just stops halfway through and I have to tell it to continue. So it's a little weird yet. And so if you're looking at like using something to read a page top to bottom, you might stick to some of the apps right now. But again, there are some other glasses that are going to be coming out that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. And again, Meta glasses, they will likely improve. I can't really say anything more about it, but I'm doing a little test right now with more detailed descriptions on the Meta glasses. So, there is that. And as of now, you can use the Be My Eyes remote assistance feature. So if you set it up and you have Be My Eyes on your phone and you want to connect to a sighted volunteer, you can just say, hey, Meta, be my eyes, and it'll connect you via your glasses. And instead of holding your phone, you can just have a voice call with the Meta glasses. And I've tried it. It works actually quite well. So there are some limitations, but unlike the Envision glasses or some other ones that are, your typical assistive technology, you're looking at a couple grand, whereas you go to the Meta glasses, yes, it's got its limitations, but they're a little over $300, heck of a lot cheaper. So if you know there's limitations going into it and you know how to work around them, they're still really, really handy.
This is Kristen. Thank you, Jesse, for sharing that. And as I said, I happen to have purchased a pair of those Meta glasses. So if you're going to be at Charting the Seas, please come around and I'll be in the accessibility lab and you can try them out and see how they work for you, maybe see how they might work for your students even in classrooms. So knowing that all of this AI is changing on a daily basis, as Jesse said, we need to keep that in mind as we test and trial different devices and products. I think we can get to a good solution for our students and in choosing different AI tools if they're appropriate or using them ourselves. So again, thank you, Jesse, for today's information. And thank you all for being a part of our Assistive Technology Tuesdays. And we hope to see you back in the fall. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.